Hello, welcome to my second May project share as a design team member for Country Craft Creations using Authentique's Poised paper collection. I made this out of the leftovers from my first project, the 12 by 12 papers, and made this cute little trinket box. So I'm going to have a tutorial in this video, but after I share what this looks like, then I will have a tutorial on how you can make the trinket box, and then an optional little wallet size album, fold out album for the inside if you want to make that. So I did use metal closure from my stash and Tim Holtz brads. Also on the back I did use metal hinges that I had in my stash. I used the Spectrum licorice black cardstock that you can get, or you could just use regular black artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations. I used these different scraps of the paper that I had. On the top, I used some of the flowers from my stash, some leaves, flat back pearls. Some of the trim I received from my design package from Country Craft Creations, kind of formed them into like leaves. I added from my own stash yellow seam binding ribbon, but I'm pretty sure that there's probably yellow available from Country Craft Creations. This is a vintage button, and this is a small window frame that I had. It's a Prima in my stash, and I painted it black, added some sanded off some of the black so that you can see white, and then added the flat back pearls here. So this just opens up here on the front, and it will open all the way back, this to stay open. And then you see on the inside the lid, let me slide it down and zoom out some. The lid, I patterned inside the lid, and then this lifts out. This is the little optional. So if you wanted this for just a gift box, a little trinket box for jewelry or for a special gift, you could just make the box. But if you wanted to include a place to put photos or add some photos, I will show you in the tutorial how to make this little fold out wallet album. It's just, you can either glue it inside and pull it out, or you can leave it free form like I did. So I used some of the gray, or rather the white seam binding ribbon from Country Craft Creations, some more roses from my stash, some more of the leaves and the flat back pearls. This is from the element sheet, and this is from the element sheet, and then scraps of paper I just layered up here on the front. So this just unties, so it wraps around the back, and I added elements to the back to hold the ribbon down. Just glue that over it. So this opens up, and then you can just flip it up like this and add little photos. Kept it really flat and simple with just the pattern papers, and then also you can flip it over and it opens up for the back side as well. So I really like how that turned out. It makes a fun little gift. Mother's Day is coming up really quick, so by the time I have the tutorial up, it'll probably be too late for Mother's Day. We will see. But that's how you can store it in there like that. There's weddings, showers, graduation coming up, so it would make a cute little gift for something like that as well. So stay tuned for the tutorial. For this trinket box project, you're going to need the rest of your papers if you're using the Authentique Poised collection. So I have several sheets, full sheets left, so I have some scraps too that I'm going to be using, and you might want the second cut apart sheet. And I have done pre-cut my chipboard. Now I use chipboard scraps. If you don't have anything, a full sheet, 12 by 12 sheet will work. So I've pre-cut that. Then I've also, from a full sheet of the collection, I cut these two, and then I from the Spectrum, Authentique Spectrum collection, I also cut out the black. So I cut 2 pieces of that. So I'm going to go over that. We're also going to need your art glitter glue. And then from my stash, and all of that is you can order from Country Craft Creations. And let me just show you the seam binding ribbon. You can also order this from Country Craft Creations. I've used all my black that I was sent in my kit, but I have the white and the gray, and I'm adding in black, yellow, and I may have some where I can add in black. And then I received this trim also from Country Craft Creations. And you can order your glue and your paper collections and your Spectrum and your medium weight chipboard, all from Country Craft Creations. And then from my own stash, I was lucky, I found these black closures for the trinket box and 2 little hinges, and then I have the silver Tim Holtz brads that I'm going to use for that. So I needed 4, 8, 12 brads for that. So I'm going to set those aside because I don't need them just yet, and then we're going to go over the chipboard that we cut and the paper that I cut to assemble the trinket box. So to start off with, you're going to need 2 that are 4 3/4 by 3, and 2 that are 4 by 2.5. You will need 4 that are 4 by 1s, and the easiest way to cut that is to have a bigger piece and cut your 1 inch, and then cut your lengths. And then you're going to need 4 that are 2.5 by 1. So we have those. And then we need 2 that are 8 inches by 6. Like I said, I'm using the Spectrum. You can use any pattern paper, or you can use solid cardstock if you wanted to. And then I'm going to use 2 of the 4.5 by 6, and I chose the yellow rose for that. So let's get started. What we're going to do is what I call assembling the lid piece and the bottom piece, so the bigger pieces. So you take your 2 4 3/4 by 3 inch chipboards and your 2 pieces that you cut to 4.5 by 6. And the side that you want to be your finished side, you're going to turn face down. And I'm just going to glue this right into the center of these 2 pieces. So just center that so you have about the same amount on each end and each side. You can have a little bit more on the longer sides here. Go ahead and do that to both of them so they can start drying. I've let these dry for just a little bit, and now I'm ready to miter the corners, and I'm just going to cut at an angle about 1/8 of an inch from the tip of the chipboard. I just eyeball it and cut it right across all 4 corners on both pieces. That looks a little longer, so I'm going to trim a little more for that one, and then right there. Okay, do that on both pieces. What we're doing is we're wrapping this. This is what will be the top and bottom of our trinket box. Okay, we bring these back in. So we're just going to fold all 4 sides. You can use score tape or your glue. I'm going to use the Art Glitter Glue. And I'm just going to glue the long sides first. I like to put a line of glue right along the chipboard. And glue down one side at a time. Burnish and get that down really good. Okay, so once you have those 2 sides down, the long sides down, you can see how it looks really nice and smooth there. You're going to take your bone folder or your fingernail, and I'll try to show you where this piece extends over into the next flap. You're going to take this and you're just going to push it in and down along the edge of your chipboard. So you don't want it sticking out. So do that on all 4. You should just have a little bit. And then when you do that, you can fold this over and you're going to have a good mitered corner. So you do the same thing. You put your glue along the seam line here, the fold, where the flap folds up, just right along that chipboard right there. And then the glue the rest of the way. And burnish that down so it sticks good. Especially the corners here. So see, you have a really nice mitered corner. And finish off the other side. And you're going to do the exact same thing for the second piece. And once you have them both done, you're just going to set them aside for now. So let's see how nice that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one off camera. So I have both pieces done, and as I said, we'll set those aside for now. Now we're going to work on the actual box piece, the box lid, the Trinket box lid, and the base. So we have the 4 2.5 by 1, the 4 4 by 1s, the 2 4 by 2.5, and 2 pieces of the 8 by 6. So again, we're going to turn this with the side that we want to see facing down. So I want to use the dots. So I'm going to be gluing mine onto the stripe on the back of this Spectrum paper. So I'm going to split these up. We have 2 of the 2.5 longs for one piece, 2 over here, 2 here, and 2 of these. So let's go ahead and start working on these. You can move your labels. So let's grab one. And let's see, I think it's going to go this way. I probably have extra paper than I needed. So it's going to glue down like this. We're going to make these boxes. These are going to be wrapped boxes. So we want to make sure we have at least a 1/2 inch down here at the bottom and still have a 1/2 inch here at the top, and then plenty on each side. Like that. So I'm going to glue this first one down. Place it about 1/2 inch 3/4 from the edge and get it down straight. Here's a good tip for you when you're making boxes out of chipboard like this and wrapping to assemble. Take a piece of your same width, medium weight chipboard, and you're going to label this shim. I label it both sides. So that I can easily see it if I lay it down upside down. Okay, so that's my shim. If you turn it upside down, it's going to say wish. No, it's not, but almost. Okay, shim. All right, so we put this one down. Let's move these out of the way, kind of. This one's going to go right along. You want it straight, lined up on both ends, right here, really good. And the width apart you want it is exactly the width of the chipboard, so that's the use of the shim. So I'm going to put the glue on this one. I'm going to need to refill my glue bottle here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and place it down and kind of eyeball where it needs to go. You've got a few seconds to work with this glue. Make sure it's even here. I'm going to put this in, this shim, and I'm just going to push it. Let me turn it sideways so I can see what I'm doing. Push it to make sure that it's flush up against that. And that is the space that you want in there. So we're going to glue this next one up here. Same thing. Make sure you're lined up end to end. You get this shim in there and push against it to push it flush. And there's the width that we need, so we need to add these last 2 here. one more. And then I'm going to set this aside and let it dry while I do the other one the exact same way. These are both the same size for this trinket box. There we go. So set that aside and let it dry, and I'm going to do my other one off camera. We have both pieces glued down, all the pieces. So next we're going to turn this so that we have the short end here at the bottom. And I want you to take your scissors and you cut right up against the chipboard end on each end of the short sides. Just like that. Turn it so it's here at the bottom. Trim it so it's right, and you go all the way up to the end of the chipboard right here. You will do the same on both pieces. Then next you will take these short pieces and you're going to fold them. If they're too long, if they go into the fold here or the seam line, you're going to trim that off. Mine are okay. And I'm going to glue those down. This is finishing the top edge. Put glue along that fold line there. And glue here. And just fold it down and burnish. So you lift it up and burnish that edge. So that's going to finish the top edge of your box. Fold this down, burnish it in place. And if you see where you didn't get quite as right up against the chipboard, just trim that off a little bit. And I'm going to fold this side. I'm going to do the same thing. Fold it, and then I want to cut this extension here even with the sides so that it's the same on each. So just put your scissors right up against the chipboard and just cut the ends of the long, just the paper. Turn it this way so I can get the chipboard there, and just cut away the excess paper so that our flaps won't be too long. And we're going to be bringing this up and over. So here on the corners, I'm just going to do a little bit of an angle cut so they're not sticking out. So just a little bit. Next, I'm going to put glue on these long flaps so we can glue them over. I'm going to burnish it down really good, and where it extends here I'm going to burnish right up against the chipboard end and then flatten those down. Right up against the end of the chipboard. Get a nice crease in there and do that down, and then open this up so that gives you the flap without a cut here. So we'll do the same on this one. Add our glue. Make sure we put it here in the hinge. I don't hope I did on the other one, but it won't matter if I forgot. It helps, but it's not critical. Okay, so here, burnish right up against the chipboard. Get that flap glued down. And it should look like this now, where this is flattened down. So that's how our box is going to come together. Okay, so I'm going to do the other side off camera, and I'll be right back.
I have both box pieces cut and the edges folded. I did angle cut a little bit more on the tabs, as you see here in this one. So next, take your glue and apply glue to the tabs. I'm going to do one end first and then the other, and I have some clips here to help me hold it together. You want to make sure that you pull it in really tight and wrap that hinge around on the outside. Now this will be covered with patterned paper, but you want to make sure you pull it really tight and everything's lined up straight. And I'm sorry if I'm off camera, but I was just checking it. And so then you clip it, and you're going to do all 4 corners the same way.
Okay, before we put our hardware on, I forgot we actually need to go ahead and pattern at least the sides. So I pre-cut mine, and I cut 4 for the long sides that are 3 7/8 by 7/8. They're all 7/8 wide. The long ones are 3 7/8, and the shorter ones, you need 4 of those. I cut mine to 2 3/8. Yes, 2 3/8, sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on. So what you do is you pattern the 2 ends of each box and the 2 long sides of each box. Okay, so the sides have been patterned all the way around on both the lid and my box. I have decided which is the front of my box. Then I went ahead and cut 2 pieces for the inside of the box that are 3 7/8 by 2 3/8, and these are going to glue inside. So this is the lid one. So I'm just going to go ahead and put these in now. Since I've already got them cut, you can wait until after you put the hinges on if you want to. Just get that in there. It should fit pretty good. And if you inked around the edges, there shouldn't be any raw. You know, we painted the corners, the seams, there shouldn't be any raw chipboard showing. So that's how that looks. So we'll pattern the sides once the hinges are on. And I'm going to go ahead and put this one on. Okay, looks really cute in there. I love the pattern. I picked that off the paper and cut so that the roses would be in the lid. Okay, so now we're ready to put these hinges on. But you need your hinges. I'm using 2 small ones. These are black ones. I don't remember the brand or anything. So any jewelry case hinges that you can find in craft supply places. I'm using Tim Holtz silver brads. I have 8 of those because my hinges have 4 holes in each one. So I'm going to put these together the best I can, match them up. They're never perfect for me, but I'll line them up. I say they're never perfect, I mean that my boxes are never exact, but we're going to do it pretty close. You want the rounded part, the center part that sticks up on the outer side. It's a little easier that way, and we're going to just line them up like this. So I have a piercing tool. I'm going to line that hinge piece there onto the seam of the boxes about how long is that? About a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to hold this down, and I'm going to just mark the hole. I think it's going to be easier so it doesn't press it. And line it back up to mark it with a pin. So hold your 2 box pieces together. Make sure I'm in line here where you can see it. 1/2 inch. The hinge is on the seam. I'm going to mark this hole. This way I can punch the holes. You do not want to use your crocodile. Okay, it will not work. Makes the holes too big and your brads are very loose. So about a 1/2 inch there, and we're going to mark them. Oops. Okay. Now then, we can take your piercing tool and just poke through all the way through for the holes. So I'm going to do all of those off camera to save us some time, but you see I'm just pushing through and then kind of twisting it so that the brad prongs will go through. So I've pierced all 8 holes on the back side of my trinket box, and I'm going to line it up good again, and we're just going to drop the brad in through the hole, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put all 8 on, and then open up the box to open up the brads. Kind of straighten them up. I'm going to try to hold one set here. Be pretty tight. I'm going to do the bottoms first, so spread them out and make sure they're parallel, running side to side with your box so they don't extend past where your pattern paper will be added. You have to turn it sometimes. And I'm sorry that you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just opening up the prongs here on the inside. I have all my prongs open inside, and then I took this tool, this brad piercing tool that has this head on it, and then I went in and pressed really, really hard to make sure that they're pressed in good, because you want to keep this really tight. And then close your box after you've done that. And on the back, look at your hinges and see that they're still straight. And if they're okay, then I'm going to open this up and I'm going to add glue to each center, filling in that where the prongs are so that it does glue down. I want to secure them. You can use something like glossy accents if you wanted to. While these are drying, I'm going to go ahead and cut the papers to cover these so that I can get it in. So I'm going to let this dry for a bit, and I'm going to cut papers, and then I'll be back to put pattern on papers on the inside edges, or the part where just the prongs are, because we want to put our closure on first for the rest of it. Got my papers. These are the same as the ones on the outside, 7/8 inch tall by 4 7/8 for the here, and I went ahead and cut the ones on the ends 7/8 by 2 3/8. So I'm going to set those aside. I'm just going to put the pattern paper on the ones that have the prongs for right now. I did ink the edges. And if your pattern paper has a direction, pay attention to your direction, up and down. This with the writing is so faint that if I put it upside down, I'm probably going to be the only one that notices. So I'm going to make sure that it's covering where those prongs are, and so nice and straight as I can. And then burnish it really well. You want to make sure it is stuck down good on the edges, and then gently burnish, but burnish well where those prongs are. Because that will help to stabilize them and help them stay in. So that one's done. Clean off any glue I have coming out. There. Okay. And now the next one. I like to use smaller prints if I can, or lighter looking prints on places like this, so it doesn't matter too much if it's upside down with the pattern. Especially in lids, it's kind of hard to decide which way you want it to go. Okay, so there's where the prongs are at. So my hinges are pretty tight, and so it keeps my box from closing, and that's why I'm going to have a closure on it. It's going to make it a little closed down better. Okay, so I'm going to hold it together, and I'm going to take this closure, and I want the one with the flip on the top. So I'm going to put this first one on, top one on first. And these are bigger holes, but I'm still going to use the small brad. So I'm going to use this to punch through. Watch your finger on the other side. This is the, oops, I wanted that to be the top one, so that's going to have to be our bottom. I mean, that's the top there, so pay attention to that. So it's going to be just fine, because it's about where I wanted it anyway. So let me find my 4 remaining brads. Go ahead and drop this in. See, by using the smaller piercer to do the holes, they fit tighter. So I'm just going to open up. These are a little easier to do. Open these up. Press them really good. So that piece is on. Now we need to get this piece on. And it should fit pretty good. Okay, let's mark that. Okay. Sorry if I'm off camera. I have to get it started. There we go. And the other one. Okay. So let's get this one on. Open up the prongs, and if you have to turn them, because again you want them to go parallel, you want to go along crossways here. You don't want them to go up and down, you want to go side to side so that the paper will hide them. So let's go ahead and press those prongs down really good. And then check how it fits. This is the bottom. Okay, it works. Yay. Okay, so now I'm going to put glue on these prongs, and then I'm going to add the pattern paper over it that I've already cut. I just want to make sure I've got glue here. It goes down underneath the prongs and into that hole a little bit. These are really cute little trinket boxes. They're not too terribly hard to make, especially once you've got one or two of them. You've done one or two, then they become easier, I think. So I've already cut my papers, same size as the one we just did for the others. So I'm going to put the glue on, and these have been inked as well. Those in over those prongs. I'm really pressing it into them with my fingers to make sure it sticks down in there, and then burnish it. So once you have that done, you do not see your prongs on the inside. So we'll do the other side real quick. It's looking cute. So let's go ahead and put the rest of these in. These again are 2 3/8 long by 7/8 tall. Okay, so there you go. The inside's patterned. These would be cute as a little doll trunk too, with a little miniature doll. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to close it up, and now I'm ready to add these pieces. So you'll notice if you cut your border big enough when you're wrapped, you do not need to add anything to this. If you did not, then you will need to cut a piece of pattern paper to cover this. This is going to go on top like this, and so when you flip it, if raw chipboard shows, you're going to want to make sure it's covered up before you glue it down. So this glues to the top, and the other one glues to the bottom. So I'm going to put my glue on my box, just like this. Good amount of glue here. And then we're going to, on the side where your hinges are, the back side, you want it more flush than you do towards the front. So you want to kind of have more of an overhang on the front. And then slide it with your glue. Make sure it's straight. So it's about 1/8 of an inch overhang here on the back. The rest have about 1/4 of an inch. So you make sure it's straight as possible and look at it side to side and press that down. So we're going to let that dry for a minute before we add the other one. Okay, so we're ready to put the next piece on. It's going to go the same way with just a little lip in the back, and we're going to try really hard to line it up correctly with this top piece. So you want to glue this unfinished part of your chipboard to the bottom of your little trinket box. So let's get the glue, and again I'm just going to put the glue on the box. Put quite a bit so that I can maneuver it around as it dries. Really having to squeeze out this art glitter glue. As it gets a little lower in the bottle, sometimes it's a little harder to get out. Okay, so make sure that the back is here, that it's closer towards the back. Oops, mine's not centered at all. So bring it over about 1/16 of an inch towards the back, and you want about equal amount, 1/4 inch. Get some glue off of there. on the sides so that it's straight and it looks pretty even with the one on top. So burnish that down with my hand, press it down, and again I'm going to let that glue. So I'm going to flip it over. See, this is the top. This is the one I just glued on. It's hard to tell once you've done it. Okay. So technically that one is finished. All you need to do is decorate, or you can just leave it plain like that. And we've already, let's see, patterned the inside. So yeah, it is done. It opens up like that, a little trinket box. You can make a little album that will go in it, or a little accordion type album. So I haven't decided yet, and I'm going to do some, probably add some decorating here with some ribbon and bows or something here on the top, but this is very pretty this way. I'll share with you in just, in the rest of this video exactly what I've done though. Okay. I'm going to show you right quick what I'm going to do to the top of my little trinket box. I found a Prima window frame. I think it's a Prima that I've had in my stash. And I painted it with my Copic marker, and then I sanded it a little bit to kind of roughen up and lighten up the edges some. And I'm going to glue that right here onto the top. So I've got my art glitter glue. I use art glitter glue for attaching everything. Flowers, ribbon. So it does work. You have to let it dry. And of course, if it's dried in the tip, it's not going to come out. So let me open this up some. See if I can get it coming out. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to put glue on all of the edges of the back of this little window frame, this resin window frame. So anything that you could find, a piece of lace or whatever you want to put down on yours, will work just fine. I'm going to angle it like that. Gonna put those flowers in there. And then I took some of this trim that I had in my designer package, and I cut it so that it had 5 loops, and then I glued them together on the bottom, kind of like leaves. And I'm just going to glue these. I did 3 of them. So I'm going to glue them here on these left side of the window frame, just kind of so that one of them laps over the frame, and then the third one right here. I did lay this out before I decided where I was going to put everything though, so press that down. I took a black flower and I squished it up and glued it so that it made a smaller, kind of like a rosebud, and then I have 3 ivory yellowish color roses that I'm going to put on here. So I'm going to glue one here. So I need to put a whole lot more glue here on top of this trim. So I can put my rose here. Flatten it in there. They put some on this rose too. Coming loose, I need to attach it. So I glue them tight in together into a bunch. I have 3 leaves. I think I am going to make them a little shorter. These are roses and leaves that I had in my stash. So I have plenty to work with in regards to leaves and flowers. But then a lot of times you want something in a different color that you don't have. So you have to make it or go buy it. And I always tend to put my leaves on after I've got my flowers down, so I know exactly where I want to put it. And I'm kind of putting it in there with that lace trim. That, now our black one. I think I'm going to kind of stick it there in the top corner, right in here. Make sure I'm still in the frame. I'm going to tuck it way in, just so a little bit of it peeks out. And then I took yellow seam binding ribbon and tied it in a bow, and then squished it all up, spritzed it with water and squished it up and let it dry. So I'm going to put that probably about right there, the base of the flowers. Okay, I like how that looks. Probably going to add something right there like a vintage button. I'm going to look in my stash for that. Okay, so in my box of vintage buttons, I found this one with the black and the kind of yellowish cream colored center. I think that's going to be perfect. And when you're lucky, the shank of the button is plastic and it's easy to cut. This is something, a tool I bought at Harbor Freight, and I think it's for electrical wire cutting, and it just takes that right off. This makes it easier to glue. If you're trying to glue that little shank thing down, it won't stay very good. So I glue this down flat into my scrunched up bow. Put a lot of glue on this right here in the center, if I can get it to come out. I think it's about time to switch into a new bottle or refill this one. So I'm going to get plenty of glue on there and just push it right into the center and hold it for a second and let it dry. So next I'm going to show you what I'm going to do in this one. If you like it as just a box, you don't have to add anything inside for photos. It's going to be totally optional. I'm going to show you how to do a little accordion wallet size insert. Give you a couple of options on that, on how to either attach it or just put it into the box. But like I said, if you just want to leave your blocks plain to put a gift in it, well, that'd be fine, and you would be finished with this project. So I'm going to go ahead and let this all dry, and I will show you what I'm doing for wallet size photos inside. So what I've done is I had plenty of the paper that I used to wrap the box lid and base with. This pretty rose, small print rose with this on the back, and I have a 12-inch piece that I cut down. You want it to be 11 1/4 inches long, so the lengthwise with your pattern, and then you cut it to 3 3/4 tall, and then you put it in your scoreboard, and you're going to score at 2 1/4. Mine's already done, but I'm showing you again. 2 1/4 is the first score mark. 4 1/2, 6 3/4, and 9. And then you just fold it up. So this is going to be the right side, and fold this pattern down and just into an angled, accordion fold. And then take your bone folder and burnish that. And you can leave it just like this, or you can add little photo mats inside if you wanted to. And what I'm going to do with mine is I have my ribbon, the gray ribbon, already cut and spritzed and dried. I'm going to tie mine. Now if you wanted to just attach this in, you wouldn't have patterned this bottom piece. You can, or you just, what you do is you glue this one inside, and then you can fold this into it, and you could add a little pull if you wanted to, and when you add mats and things, it will fill all this up. But I'm going to make mine where it comes in and out. And I am going to round my corners. Got the 1/2-inch chomper here. We'll go through all of it. I'm just going to go ahead and I think round all of them. All 4 corners. Okay. Like that. So it opens up like this. So when it's open, it looks like that. And then I'm going to take this ribbon and I'm going to lay it on the back here. Flatten it out. It's about even, about 1/2 and 1/2. And I'm going to go ahead and tie it around. And you'll see that I tied a knot in each end, cut it short, about 1/4 inch from the end of the knot, and just going to let that fray. And this can be pulled out more. Kind of fluff that bow out. Like that. And on the back, I'm going to attach it down. I'm going to look at my elements here and let's see what we've got. Love yourself. That's a little big. It can go this way. These are all pretty big. Love your life. Kind of like that. And so that would be on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down over the ribbon where I've got it positioned so it stays in place when I untie it. Okay, and this will fit in. I may add some photo mats in there out of some of the other pattern papers and cardstock. It just all fits in there. So that's the little trinket box made out of Poised paper collection from Authentique for Country Craft Creations. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out the Country Craft Creations store for your crafting supplies. You can find all the Authentique papers there, the Spectrum papers, your artisan cardstock, art glitter glue, adhesive, and other supplies. Thanks again. Bye-bye.